We are already in week 10 of the NFL season, and the fantasy football playoffs are only a few short weeks away. So it is now or never for your fantasy football teams. And if any of you are like me, you have a few teams that are in a solid to good position to make that championship run. Now, I have a few names that I want to talk about that are going to be popular this week. So you're going to need to be as proactive as possible. You're going to have to spend some fab to grab these players, but they could be the difference in you making or not making the fantasy playoffs, or they could be the one key piece that you need to make that run at the fantasy football championship. But before we get started, I want to remind you to check out our website, footballscout365.com, where you can find all of our written fantasy football analysis, including a more in-depth weekly waiver wire article. And you can also find our NFL draft written content, our NFL draft big board and player rankings. You can find all of that and more on our website, footballscout365.com. So this season, we've seen a lot of injuries to the wide receiver position. In fact, the running back position is a lot stronger than the wide receiver position at this point in the season. But for those of you that chose the wide receiver heavy approach and faded the running back position, we have options for you today. Now, I want to provide an example for you of something that I just recently did in a trade. So for me in one league where I have Nico Collins, Jamar Chase, Garrett Wilson, all on one roster. My running backs are Jaleel McLaughlin, Miles Sanders, Ray Davis, and Blake Corum, for example. Now, I've talked a lot about Ray Davis and Blake Corum, by the way. Blake Corum being more of a stash ad. Ray Davis was a stash. Now Ray Davis is a guy that you could possibly, rely on if you're wide receiver heavy like me. Throw him out there, take a chance. I should have this week and I didn't. And I missed out on 16 fantasy points in one of my leagues. So it's going to cost me a W, going to put another L in that loss column for me, and I hate it. But yesterday I had to make a move. I didn't want to make this move, but last week I was actually offered a trade, and it was for Chase Brown and Austin Eckler. This is on a fantasy roster. This owner actually is loaded at the running back position. This guy already has Derrick Henry, but he is just not good at the wide receiver position. He offered me Chase Brown and Austin Eckler a week ago. I passed on it. He wanted Nico Collins. And this week, I sent it right back to him. Actually, while the games were still being played yesterday, I was just kind of sick of it, and he accepted that trade right away. So after losing 4 straight in this league, after starting 5-0, I didn't want to sit around any longer, hoping that Blake Corum's usage would go up while just sitting around on my bench, and me being, on the fence about whether or not to put Ray Davis in there over Jaleel McLaughlin or, Miles Sanders, for example. Completely crazy that I didn't put Ray Davis in there and I kept Miles Sanders out there. That is all on me. But as of this week, making a trade like that's big for my fantasy football roster. Now I'm talking about having Austin Eckler in there and Chase Brown. I don't have to worry about it. I can throw Ray Davis into a flex spot on this fantasy roster, and I still have Garrett Wilson, Jamar Chase. I also have Christian Watson at wide receiver that I can throw out there as well. So I'm feeling a lot better. And my quarterback in that league, and it's a 1 QB league, by the way, is Jalen Hurts. So I was able to make that trade. You could probably make that same kind of trade depending on your roster construction. I heavily advise you to try to do that now before the trade deadline hits, especially if you're, if you're on a 2 or 3 game losing streak or a 4 game losing streak like I was in this league or am in this league, you need to turn it around. Highly recommend you make a trade like this to get things going. Okay, let's move on now to the waiver wire aspect of the video. Now I have 3 names for this video, and there's about 9 names in the written article on our website. So if you want more options, check out that article on our website, footballscout365.com. But the first name for this video that I want to discuss is going to be Miami Dolphins quarterback Tua Tagovailoa. Now, Tua Tagovailoa, he's about 43% rostered currently, and in his second game back from the concussion that he sustained several weeks ago, where he spent more than 4 weeks, by the way, on IR. Tua, he went out there, he showcased remarkable accuracy. He completed 25 of 28 passes this past Sunday against the Buffalo Bills. Threw for 231 yards, would have had, I think, over 250 had Jalen Waddle not run backwards on a catch. For like a 20-yard loss, something crazy like that towards the end of the game. But nevertheless, Tua, go get him if he's available on waivers out there. He's about 43% rostered currently. Now, the next player that I think that you should be focusing on, it's somebody that I'm going to go after. It's Taysom Hill. He's back from injury. He continues to thrive in a multifaceted role in this New Orleans Saints offense. Now, obviously, there's been a coaching change as of today, so I don't know how much The firing of Dennis Allen is going to have an effect on Taysom Hill's usage. I imagine they're going to continue to use him in a similar way, how they use him near the red zone. If you're the Alvin Kamara owner, maybe you go get this guy. If you're struggling at tight end, you throw him at tight end, and you kind of assure yourself something when you get into the red zone. You can double down on some New Orleans Saints guys, especially with Derek Carr in this offense. This offense is moving better. Now, I know Derek Carr, medicine ball, it's a Chris Olave. Everybody is all over him for that. But nevertheless, in terms of fantasy value, Derek Carr does enhance this offense. And Taysom Hill should be available on a lot of waivers still out there. He's about 26% rostered currently. All right, now I got one more name to go out there and get, and this is more of a stash play for down the line. If you are the Derrick Henry owner already, you better go get Keaton Mitchell for the Baltimore Ravens. This guy is due to return here in the next week or two into this Baltimore Ravens explosive offense. And this guy was one of the most efficient running backs in 2023 before he tore his ACL. He was averaging about 8.4 yards per carry a season ago. He is an absolute dynamite, explosive player. He can actually produce in the pass game as well. I know that Justice Hill has sort of been that guy for the Ravens recently, and they're leaning on Justice Hill quite a bit. I do highly recommend you go get Keaton Mitchell for sure, because if Derrick Henry starts to wear down towards the end of the season or closer to the fantasy playoffs, this could be a fantasy football league winning play for you. Have him already on the bench, stash him away for down the road. Okay, that's going to do it. Let me know your thoughts on the video. Let me know if you have any wild trades that you were going to try to make here over the course of the next week or two before the trade deadline. Also, let me know how you feel about Tua, Taysom Hill on waivers right now, or the Keaton Mitchell, stash play that I just talked about. Let me know your thoughts on all of that. And again, I do want to say thank you for watching. Please like the video, subscribe to the channel, and stay tuned for more great fantasy football analysis.